Hi everyone, my name is Suze, and I work with women to help them find balance between their inner masculine and feminine energies so that they can have lives that feel really fulfilled and full of love and connection. So today I want to talk to you about boundaries, right? Boundaries. That seems to be a really popular word this year. I'm noticing a trend where awareness around the need for boundaries is really coming forward with women and with feminines. And it's really exciting because I know in my journey with boundaries, I came from a place where I had a lot of wrong ideas about what boundaries were, and I was afraid of them. I was afraid that if I started speaking boundaries and placing boundaries with people and things, that I would lose friendships and I would lose people, or I would push people away, and really coming from a lack mindset. And I think that's where a lot of women, a lot of feminines come from, is worried that if I start placing boundaries and having this around me, I'm gonna lose something, right? Or people aren't gonna like me. And yes, it can be challenging when you're first getting practiced in setting boundaries. It can be challenging if the other person or people you're dealing with, they don't have a good relationship with setting boundaries for themselves. It's going to be challenging. So let's get into boundaries a little bit, because with the women that I work with, I love talking about boundaries, and boundaries is actually a really in-depth conversation in my healing sessions with women. So I'm just going to graze the surface of it today, really lightly, because I want to plant a seed out there in the collective that boundaries are not about protection, because protection implies your heart is closed. If you're protecting yourself, you're in a closed heart space. And what does that exactly mean? Well, let's think of it in the reverse. When your heart is open, that is when you feel love. You feel in love. You feel pleasure. You feel connection. You feel happiness. You feel fulfillment. When your heart is in the open-hearted space, that is when you feel really good. All the feelings, all the energies, all the emotions of the good, happy stuff, we like to say, right? So if the open-hearted space is where we really want to be as much as possible, if we have a mindset around anything to create a healthy, balanced life, if we're then therefore have the idea around something that is healthy, if we think of it in a closed-hearted space, it's not gonna really work, and there will be resistance. There will be resistance because there's an inner voice inside of you that wants the open-hearted space, because it knows the open-hearted space is where the happiness comes in. So boundaries are not about protecting yourself. Boundaries are a masculine energy. I've talked about that in other videos. Boundaries are a masculine energy component. However, it's the masculine energy component of support, not protection. Support. Because you can be in a place of supporting yourself and still have your heart open. Now, of course, this takes some serious self-trust, and I'm not going to get into that today. Serious self-trust. But if boundaries are not about protection, but rather about support, what exactly does that mean, right? Well, I am supporting myself and my needs so that I may show up in the world in the state of being that is important to me. I've talked in other videos about values and how a huge piece of the work I do with women is helping women identify the feelings and the energies that they really value. So you kind of know what you're going for at any point in time. So if you know what feelings, emotions, energies, if you know what you value, if you know how you want to feel as much as possible in your life, then boundaries are simply a component that you plug in to support yourself and your needs in maintaining that state of being, those values that you have. That's all it is. And another cool thing about looking at boundaries in that way, for me at least, I've noticed, is if I'm looking at it that way as I'm simply supporting myself and maintaining a state of being that I personally value and the way I want to show up, then it has so much less to do with the fear of losing other people. It has nothing to do with anyone else. It has entirely to do with me, my journey, and my own self-empowerment, my own self-love. And that takes a lot of the pressure off of like worried about how someone else is going to react or what they're going to do if I communicate a boundary, right? I feel like this really, really helps the conversation with boundaries and kind of can help us get over into feeling better about boundaries, feminine energy, feeling better about something that can generate a lot of anxiety and fear and uncertainty and confusion in the head, right? So can we please stop saying the boundaries are for protecting us? They're not for protecting you, because your heart is closed down when you are in protection. And when your heart is closed down, you will not be feeling the happy feelings, the good emotions, the good vibes, right? You can't, because you're closed off to anything. So boundaries are about support. So I said also as well about the needs. So before you can even communicate boundaries, and I'm going to do another video about communication and communication around boundaries. I don't want to get into that here. I simply want to talk about mindsets around boundaries today. But if we can get into that mindset of understanding boundaries are just me taking care of my needs and giving myself what I need to show up in a situation that has a temptation to move me into a place where I don't want to be, a state of being where I don't want to be. If it's that, then you have to also back it up a little further. What are my needs? And it's really fascinating to me that for a lot of women, when I start working with them, they have no idea what their needs are. Because for so many of us, we come from a background, a childhood or life experience or a culture where we weren't allowed to have needs. Or maybe we were made to feel like our needs were too much. We're asking for too much, or we're too sensitive. Okay? So you have to go back to the drawing board with the needs. And again, I don't want to get into that today either. That's another video for another time. But maybe you can start noticing what kind of situations or what people am I around where I notice I tend to get a little bit more worked up internally. Maybe I experience some anxiety or some unsettledness, or I feel really insecure. Any kind of those like, feelings inside where you're kind of not really feeling great about yourself. Those are the situations where there's some kind of need that you have that needs to be met there. So dissect it a little bit. Just start noticing. Everything starts with awareness. Everything starts with slowing down. I've said that in my 5 tips about feminine energy right there. Slow down and start noticing how you're feeling in different situations with different people. So that's all I want to say today. Just a quick little blip on boundaries to really get you thinking, because I know when I've shared that with other women, just even that little bit of information is a lot. So let that soak in. Let that start changing your mindset and see how boundaries are your friend. Boundaries are your support. Boundaries empower you and allow you to have needs and to take care of your own needs, which also releases you from codependency. So think about all of that. There's a lot going on here. And I hope this really helped you guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please do like and subscribe so that my message can get out and I can help more and more people. And these little shifts can start happening, because it really does need to happen with the women and with the feminines. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.